Okay, good morning. Welcome to everybody here who is right now nobody, but this channel will build as people realize how smart I am. All right, it's great to have you guys here at on the Seahawk Boys channel. Normally it's going to be me and Dave Barra, but it's really just me so far. So I wanted to come in here and talk about Seahawks free agency day one and just discuss what happened yesterday. There was a lot of significant action on Seahawks players. There's a lot of players to get signed yesterday in free agency, and I think probably the best sort of overall evaluation of it is I don't even want to give credit to this guy because he's such a racist douchebag. But anyway, a guy on Twitter who's it's Michael Sean Dugar. He's a complete racist asshole. Anyway, so basically for the Seahawks, free agency day one, they retain Leonard Williams and Noah Fant. They lost, if you can call it lost, Jordan Brooks to the Dolphins, Damian Lewis to the Panthers, and Colby Parkinson to the Rams, and Will Dissly to the Chargers. Now, a lot of action there on the Seahawks tight end room. And this is pretty interesting because the tight end class is really not that good. And the truth is, there's guys like Stennett and let's slide over real quick to Rob Staten's horizontal board and share this tab instead. And if you look at tight ends, the only first round tight end is Brock Bowers, and he's going to definitely go in the top 5 or 10 picks probably. Below that, you got Ben Stinnett, Theo Johnson, and Jatavian Sanders in the second round, Cade Stover in the third round, and then a bunch of fifth round guys. Jack Westover from the Seahawks, or from the Huskies rather, is listed in there in the 5 to 7 round range. So, there's not a lot of tight ends in this draft. They're not going to get Brock Bowers. I don't want them to spend a high pick on Brock Bowers, and I don't want tight end to be a priority. Now, it becomes, I think, maybe a little bit more of a priority when you go back to this list and you see that we lost 2 of them. We lost Colby Parkinson to the Rams, and we lost Will Dissly to the Chargers. But it's pretty crazy. The Chargers paid 3 years and $21 million for Will Dissly. And I'm just going to come out and say it. Will fucking Dissly is a stiff. He's a fucking stiff. The Seahawks, the only worse decision than giving him 3 years and $21 million is the Seahawks giving him 3 years, $24 million 2 years ago. They wasted $8 or $10 million in cap space on a journeyman tight end who blocks. He doesn't catch anything. He doesn't make any yards after the catch. He's useless. And you can find blocking tight ends in every draft at every level. You can find undrafted free agent rookies who are going to play for less than $1 million that can do anything Will Dissly can do. So again, now you can say, well, there's 2 old school football coaches, Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh, who disagree with me about that. That's great. Let them disagree with me. I'm still going to be proven right. What did Dissly have? Like 8 catches last year, 10, 15. He's terrible. He's not worth bothering with. So again, I don't understand why anybody would give him that kind of money. Now, when you go look at other free agents, and we'll talk about Leonard Williams in a minute. But when you go look at, I think Colby Parkinson, Adam Schefter reports Colby Parkinson intends to sign a 3-year, $22.5 million deal, including $15.5 million guaranteed with the Los Angeles Rams per sources before playing at Stanford. Parkinson attended Oaks Christian School, blah, 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 which is right down the road from the Rams training complex. Parkinson goes back home. Well, for $22.5 million, $22.5 million and $15.5 million guaranteed for our third string tight end, you can have him. He made a few plays last year. Finally, his first 2 years, he didn't do anything. He hardly caught any passes. He wasn't much in blocking, and he didn't really live up to his 4th round pick status. So the Rams seem to think that they see something in him. And Sean McVay to be honest, is better than Pete Carroll at evaluating and utilizing talent. So we can't place that much. We can't place, we can't say that this is a terrible signing because he's a young player, but he's also a young player who's been hurt most of the time. He's got foot problems. And when tight ends have foot problems, they rarely go away. When football players have foot problems, they rarely go away. Usually limits their career fairly significantly. So this is a guy that I wasn't that interested in re-signing except as a backup, and sure as hell not for 15.5 million guaranteed over 3 years and $22.5 million total. Fine, walk. I don't care. Um, it to me, this doesn't significantly weaken the Seahawks in any way, shape, or form. And we signed Noah Fant. We re-signed Noah Fant, who was the best, most talented tight end we had on this roster. Um, he signed for 21 million over 2 years. That's an $11 million average annual salary, give or take, 10 or 10 and a half. It's a good deal. Former first round pick, 2,800 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns in 5 NFL seasons. And again, Pete Carroll's offense completely misuses the tight end. They don't access the tight end. They don't throw to him. They just use them as an extra blocker in the running game. I think that Grubb's new offense is going to be more imaginative with how they use the tight end. And you got a guy who's big, he's athletic. I know Seahawks retard Nelson pointed out that can't remember Fant dropping a ball, and he runs over people and he leapfrogs them, and he's only 26. So that's a good deal. That's a good signing. That's the one guy I wanted to retain. Now I think you look at a couple of undrafted free agents, maybe a low price veteran to fill in the number 2 spot, and you're good at tight end. And I just don't think we're going to waste any time drafting anybody. We probably will pick somebody over over the course of the draft, but I don't, or pick somebody up off the tight end scrap heap. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. Now, the other big signing, of course, the Seahawks made was Leonard Williams. And Leonard Williams was a guy that the Seahawks had prioritized. I know Rob Staten wanted to bring him back, and his argument was Leonard Williams played better than I think some people remember. Yeah, because what I remember is when he got here, the defense didn't get any better. Especially on a bad defense, but perfectly acceptable to bring him back. Interested to see what Mike Macdonald does with him. Retaining the former Pro Bowler was a huge emphasis for Seattle, so they seem to like Leonard Williams. I'm not wild about Leonard Williams. I would have rather seen Wilkinson in here, but he costs a lot more money. So they got him for, I believe it's 3 years in the $21 million a year range on an average. The cap numbers will be different than that, of course, and we have plenty of cap space right now to maneuver around. So you have to hope and you have to assume that the Seahawks are going to be better than they were last year on defense, simply because Pete Carroll is not coaching them and Clint Hurt is not coaching them anymore. You actually have a competent guy coaching them in Mike Macdonald, who put together the best defense, I think, pretty much in in the NFL last year, which is hang on, let me go here. Let me flip over. Let's share this tab instead. Colby Parkinson says, coming back home, God is good. Let me do a comment here. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. Okay. Yeah. Bye, Colby Parkinson. It's possible he may turn out to be a better player under Sean McVay, but we shall see. So Noah Fant, 2 years, $21 million and $54 million for Leonard Williams. The issue here that I think is significant is the fact that we haven't improved the team significantly. We haven't added anybody, and we have dropped some players. Now, I don't know that any of these guys, Colby Parkinson and Will Disley, useless. But Jordan Brooks was a starting linebacker here for 4 or 5 years. We should have drafted Patrick Queen. Everybody was excited about the Ravens drafting Patrick Queen. And Seahawks fans for years said, oh, Jordan Brooks is better. Jordan Brooks is not better. Patrick Queen is the dominant player out of those two, quite clearly by a significant margin. I know Staten is against spending big money on Patrick Queen. I'm not. I'd like to spend money on a free agent linebacker and free agent safety. And I'd also like to draft a free agent linebacker and a free agent safety, or draft a college linebacker and a college safety. So that's fine with me. Jordan Brooks, oh, he's a tackling machine. Yeah, the problem is he's a tackling machine 7 yards downfield. After the guy's already gained 7 yards, Jordan Brooks tackles him. He can't cover. He doesn't make plays. Patrick Queen makes plays. He forces fumbles. He gets interceptions. He breaks up passes. Jordan Brooks never did any of those things. And good for him. He got decent money. And I'm fine with that. Now, the other big significant loss really was Damian Lewis, offensive guard of the Panthers. 3 years or 4 years and $54 million. It's crazy money for Damian Lewis. Damian Lewis was a player that I always liked a little bit, especially his rookie season when he played right guard. But then, in typical idiotic Pete Carroll fashion, he has a really strong rookie season at right guard. He makes the all rookie team at right guard. So what does Pete Carroll do in his second season? He goes out and trades a 5th-round pick for left guard from the Raiders. And then he moves the 6-time Pro Bowl left guard from the Raiders. I forget what his name was. I had it a minute ago. To right guard, and moves our right guard, Damian Lewis, to left guard, where he declines. And he always struggled at left guard. He never looked comfortable. I suspect if the Panthers have any intelligence at all, they will be moving him back to the right guard side. And I think that will make him a more effective player, but not a $54 million over 4-year effective player. So guards I think are easily replaceable, and we need new blood. We need a couple of new offensive guards. So I'm totally down with that. People are talking about Philip Haynes getting big money. Bye-bye. He's never healthy, and he's only decent when he is healthy. So let's bring in a center and a couple of guards, either through the draft or in free agency. We'll see how that goes on. So far, there really aren't any major changes in Seahawkville in terms of basically just how the team has improved, but they haven't gotten weaker either. I think there's better players out there than Jordan Brooks for less money than Jordan Brooks got. There's better players out there than Damian Lewis for less money than Damian Lewis got. These are some posts from earlier. Then the interesting thing, however, is Draymond Jones. Now, what about Draymond Jones? Brian Numskuller over at Hawk Blogger makes a few points about Leonard Williams. He may have overpaid him, but the Seahawks paid a market rate. Someone would have paid Leonard Williams this deal or more. Look at the Wilkins deal. At just 1 year younger, you're getting he's $27.5 million AP or $21.5 million for Leonard Williams is an odd deal to criticize. Now, the interesting thing is who's going to play with Leonard Williams and how are they going to be better on defense? Well, Draymond Jones really had an interesting post earlier today, which I had, and now I can't find it. Let me see if I spell it right? Did I spell it wrong? Draymond Jones has a big cap hit, and a lot of people have talked about cutting him. I don't want to cut him. I may have spelled it wrong. A. Jones. But okay, I lost it somewhere. But basically, what he said was all this PFF stuff that you guys are always talking about. You don't know the kind of crap from a scheme standpoint and a coaching standpoint that I was dealing with last year. If the Seahawks trade for fucking Justin Fields, I will lose my mind. I will too. I will lose my mind with happiness because he has more physical talent than any quarterback available in this draft. And I'm including Caleb Williams in that. Yeah, there was a story here where Draymond Jones did post here on Twitter somewhere that a reunion in Seattle. Sources tell me, I don't know if this is a scam or not. Ravens edge Jadavian Clowney is following former defensive coordinator Mike McDonald of the Seahawks on a 1-year contract. Clowney played for Seattle. Clowney might be coming back. That's an interesting rumor. But Draymond Jones came out and said, "Look, you don't know what I was dealing. PFF grades, they graded him way down. He was the third worst free agent signing last year, and he said, "Look, you don't know what I was dealing with from a schematic and coaching standpoint, and you just wait and see." And it's really interesting when you get into the Seahawks salary cap situation because Draymond Jones is a candidate for cutting if they need more cap space because of the fact that you could cut him and save a significant amount of money if you did it as a post 6-1 cut. So people are looking at that going, oh, maybe they should cut him because he didn't do much last year. Reality is, and they still don't have Tyler Lockett's savings in here. The reality is, however, that Draymond Jones is a talented player, and he played very well for the Broncos before this last season. And again, Pete Carroll, being the terrible coach that he is, simply misused him. So I think there's a really good chance that in a new scheme, Draymond Jones is a lot more effective as an inside defensive player for the Seahawks. And it may not be as high a priority now that they have Leonard Williams back as it would have been. Now, let's go back and address, this is the cap situation. I thought the savings would be bigger than that, but I may be wrong. Anyway, there are still some possibilities of things they could do, extensions, restructures, that kind of thing. I think they could restructure Draymond and save about $5 million under the cap, so $4.9 million. So that would push him into 2025, and that's good deal. So $16 million over 2 years, they would save $16.5 million. So look, here's the reality of the situation. As we go back to the posts talking about Justin Fields, the Seahawks' biggest need is still quarterback. And if you look at the NFL draft, if you look at the draft order, Chicago's going to take Caleb Williams. Washington's going to take Jaden Daniels. New England's going to take Drake May. There's a chance the Giants go for a quarterback at 6, but I don't think so. Atlanta now with Kirk Cousins is out of the early quarterback thing. Minnesota and Denver for sure don't have quarterbacks. I don't really have a quarterback. Vegas signed Gardner Minshew. I think he's a bridge. I think that indicates that they're going to draft a quarterback. New Orleans could draft a quarterback. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all of there's 7 quarterbacks in this draft, down to Spencer Rattler from Caleb Williams, that could potentially be first-round players. In reach quarterback scenarios, but for a great quarterback, you always have to reach. Now, I think the chance that Michael Penix makes it through this gauntlet to Seattle at 16 is 0. So if you like Penix, you're going to have to trade up to get him. What do we have to trade with? Not really much of anything, because we spent a second-round pick, 47, on Leonard Williams. So the best option for the Seahawks at quarterback is the one I've been arguing all along, which is Justin Fields. Now, people say, Justin Fields, he holds the ball too long. He doesn't recognize defenses, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Look at his production. He doesn't have any 300-yard passing games. He's just got one. He has no talent around him. He has a defensive-minded head coach and a terrible coach. Terrible coaching, terrible offensive coordinators, 2 or 3 offensive coordinators. He has the physical talent of Patrick Mahomes. Justin Fields is as physically talented as Patrick Mahomes. I will say it right now. The ball, the deep ball, the accuracy, the legs, the plays he can make. I think you could get right now Justin Fields. You could get him for 81 for sure. And you could get him for probably still get him for 118 because right now nobody's biting on Justin Fields. Now the Bears may elect to wait until after the draft and see if they can get more for him then, but the odds are actually pretty good that they're going to get less for him then. So, and it'll be a next year pick, not a this year pick. So I think the Seahawks should, if they have any brains, they should be in um, talking and starting with the 118 pick. Because then you have Geno Smith and Justin Fields fighting it out for the quarterback position. And you can still, if we go back to the Seahawks salary cap situation, we can still, you can still cut Geno as a post 6-1 cut, or trade Geno as a, uh, what's going on with Geno there? Oh, I mean, 2025. You can still trade Geno as a post 6-1 and save 12.9 million under the cap. So if you could get somebody to give you a 7th round pick for Geno to be their bridge quarterback at around the time of the draft, or a 7th round pick in 2025, you'd save 12,900,000. Now that's important, not just for this year to give you, because 12,900,000 signs pretty much covers your injured reserve and your rookie rookie class, covers it. Any cap space you don't use also rolls over, or a significant percentage of it rolls over into 2025. So if you do that, you are in better shape next year. Even better shape next year. And you go get Drew Lock to be a competitor or a backup to Justin Fields, and you roll with Justin Fields. And you try to coach up this guy. And remember, Fields has so much potential because of the fact that he played at a big school. He played in big games. He was successful in big games. That's something you can't buy with a quarterback. Caleb Williams has never won a big game at USC. In fact, in the bigger games, he chokes. So people that are arguing against Justin Fields based on these stupid metrics that aren't even real stats, just forget about it. Just forget about it. Let's bring him in here. The only receiver Justin Fields has ever had that's worth a shit is DJ Moore. Well, what did he do in his 1 year with DJ Moore? 96 receptions, 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns, and an average of 14.5. So he threw the ball deep to him. Let me just tell you, Patrick Mahomes could not have put up better numbers with DJ Moore than Justin Fields did. That shows you, and Cole Kmet, the tight end, did very well with Justin Fields. That shows you that if he had players around him, he can get the job done. Now, is it a risk? Of course, quarterbacks are always a risk. But here's the thing. At 16, if this trade first of all, I would make the trade now if I was John Schneider. But at 16, and let's go over and take a look at the Bears cap. At 16, if you don't get one of the quarterbacks you want, Spencer Rattler, Michael Penix, which I don't think you're going to. God, I hate these fucking ads. You have to do something else. And the only guy out there who's worth getting is Justin Fields. Now, his cap number this year is only $6 million. So he's super cheap. If you pick up his option for 2025, it is, where's the option? It's 21 million. Okay, it's not listed on here, and they don't have a choice here to put on to pick up the option. But it's an average of about 12 million over 2 years for Justin Fields. Totally worth doing. Totally worth doing for a guy with that much physical upside. So I would do it. I wouldn't wait till the draft. I'd do it now. And if If Drake May falls to 16 for some reason, well, so much better, the better. Drake May fell to 16. Congratulations. Fantastic. Now, just in terms of other things that are going on in free agency, I think the Seahawks will probably get a linebacker today. They'll probably get an offensive lineman, a guard. Um, but if you go and look at what other teams have done, Carolina's been very aggressive. They went out and got they got two guards to help block for Bryce Young, including Damian Lewis. They they traded Brian Burns. Why? Because Brian Burns is a pass rusher that they signed. They spent big money on. They're not a competitive team. They're not going to be a competitive team this year. They don't have they would have the number one overall pick this year if they had kept it. And as a result, they were able to trade him for a second and a fifth. Now, if you look at Carolina, they don't have anything in the first round, but they now have 2 second-round picks. They have 33 and 39, which are a couple of really high picks. The two guys you can get at 33 and 39 are just as good as guys you're going to get in this 16 to 32 range. So you're looking good there. They have the top pick in the third round at 65. So they got 3 picks out of the first 65, 4 picks out of the first 100. So they can get new players, improve the team, make themselves better with the guys that they have. And they rid themselves of an excessively large contract. And a guy who's entering his, 5th or 6th year in Burns? So Brian Burns is a great player. I'd love to have him on the Seahawks. I wouldn't want to have to pay him $150 million, like the Giants did. But I think the Panthers made the right move there. Okay, that is pretty much going to wrap it up. Just a quick Seahawks evaluation. I think the rumor about Jadeveon Clowney is weird but interesting, and I expect them to do something with the interior offensive line and the linebacker position today, and maybe safety. Those are the 3 I would look for today. Now, people are saying, well, everybody who expected the Seahawks to go out and make a big splash in free agency, you haven't been watching this organization for the last 15 years. Yeah, but here's the thing. The Seahawks have been terrible and ineffective in free agency. They don't bargain shop. They dumpster dive. That's what the Seahawks do. That they spent $13 million on Luke Jokel and Eddie Lacy. In a year when they talked over and over again about getting a Calais Campbell type, and Calais Campbell was available on a huge contract, but with a cap hit his first year of only $14 million. That's the way the Seahawks play the free agency game. They do a shitty job. But nobody really knows for sure if it was Pete Carroll driving that philosophy or John Schneider driving that philosophy. We're about to find out. What he's done so far is consistent with the Seahawks pattern of simply picking up, re-signing your own guys and not picking up anybody new and not being aggressive in the market and not overpaying. If you're close to winning a Super Bowl, like the Chiefs were a couple years ago, and they super overpaid and paid big money for a couple of offensive linemen because they weren't going to get Mahomes beat up the way Tampa Bay beat him up in the Super Bowl and prove that he's mortal. You can do that. We're not in that position yet. We still have a lot of roster building to do with a completely new philosophy and a new head coach who hopefully is going to be dramatically better. New offensive coordinator, dramatically better than the guys we've had in here. So we shall see. We shall see what happens. We'll see whether the Seahawks are more willing to be aggressive than we think now that John Schneider is running the show. Also, a couple comments. Good for Russell Wilson going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team with some talent. Let's hope they draft a guy to block for him in the first round and a guy to catch for him in the first or second round. Those 2 positions first. And I am going to go on. Nobody's watching right now. Maybe somebody will pick it up later, but I'm going to come right on and say, hey, Russell Wilson is going to be the 2024 NFL Comeback Player of the Year. He had 26 touchdown passes against only 8 interceptions, with 2 other touchdown passes that were dropped that I saw, and there probably were 4, and 2 more that were called back on absolutely ridiculous, ludicrous, laughable calls. So Russ should have had at least 30 touchdown passes in only 15 games. He slings the ball like nothing. He's still pretty mobile. Not as mobile as he used to be, but who is at the age of 34. I think with a good coach, a disciplined team, Russ is going to be fantastic next year. I think he's going to throw at least 30 touchdown passes next year and shut all of his critics up. And what the fuck is wrong with Mark Schlereth? Mark Schlereth must be butt buddies with Sean Payton because he has just been trashing Russell Wilson unfairly and for no reason. And he's a douchebag. Schlereth was asked by Colin Cowherd back when Russ got benched, will there be a market for Russell in the offseason? No. He didn't even make it to the market. That's how popular he was. He had a deal before the market even opened. So fuck you, Mark Schlereth. Fuck you. I don't care if you're bigger. Yeah, you can kick my ass. So what? You're a dumb fuck. I'm just telling you, there is something rotten in the Denver Broncos organization, something deeply rotten. And it has to do with Sean Payton and guys like Mark Schlereth and probably the new owners. And the things they did to Russell Wilson are wrong. Period. And I think Russ is going to be outstanding this year. Okay, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. Thanks for being here, all two of you. Come on over, check out the channel, check out my blog, MikeBarrett.blogs, the Seahawk Boys Fearless and Stupid NFL blog. Check it out. I'm going to start trying to update it with articles and things like that and links to things that I think are relevant. So just getting started here, trying to do everything new from scratch and get a little Seahawks fun going on the side. I have 0 viewers right now. That's okay. That's okay. People will find me. Good content gets found. All right. See you next time.